All right, hello. This is B7. So I never talked about it really on my channel, but most people that know me personally know that I am an avid and big fan of the Mass Effect series. I recently just came across, I believe a couple days ago, Prime Radiancy, and I can say for a fact that I love this channel. It's easily one of my favorites, and I've only seen like maybe two videos. The first one was ranking the squad members in a straight up fight. Like if they were to fight one on one, like who would be the best, and then they rated them in terms of tiers on which one is the best like squad mate like overall. And I really agree with it. So I thought it would be a good idea for someone like me, since I have a lot of knowledge of Mass Effect, because I love that game series. I literally have never covered it on my channel, but I think that my takes may be a bit interesting. And I've only seen like the first couple minutes of this video, so I can give a fresh take. And I may actually go over some of his other ones as well because I really like them. So without wasting too much time, I could probably just go ahead and get started here because it seems like everything is good. I've seen the first couple bits of this, but we can get started.
Take the high ground, Joe.
Don't backseat me, Donald. I got this.
See, look at you, already fucking up.
Now, in respect, I know I'm pausing already. The academy fucking sucks. That is the academy, and if you don't take the high ground, that Atlas is gonna fuck you up. That Atlas right there in the background, this will destroy you unless you know what you're doing. Because I do know specifically that I have a build where I did one run as an engineer and I just proximity mined it to death. Because if you use the electric ammo, the electric ammo and proximity mine, you could tech burst it to death. And it's hilarious. It's actually hilarious. But yeah, we can go ahead and continue here.
Come on, man.
But that thing will screw you.
You want to try doing something?
Shut up. I'm trying to think.
How in the world
I
did you
forgot.
just miss that pull?
I forgot how he missed. He whiffed a pole. It's like, come on, just aim it directly at him. Come on.
Stop crowding me, man. I got this. Look.
I see you got 1 bar of health and you're not using your...
Wait a minute. Is he using? Oh, I just not noticed. He's using the katana. What the fuck? Why are you using that thing? That thing, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's really good at very, very, very close range. Otherwise, it's a piece of shit. That gun sucks at long range, unless you have a choke on it, in which case you might as well just use the Crusader.
Omnigel.
My Omni what?
Oh, good God, he can't seriously be this bad.
Look at me. I
Damn,
got that
it looks
guy.
like it's unupgraded.
Joe,
No,
you
he's
should
got a
probably
choke
check your
on it, it
radar.
looks like.
What radar? Where? How do I pull it up?
God, if
What
you
is he
take
playing?
another rocket, I'm going to lose my mind. Wait,
Wait, what is he playing? Oh, he's playing Vanguard. That's right.
why the fuck are you charging right now?
Shut up. It worked.
This is absolutely not the run. You're cooked.
Nah, I'm clearing it this time. Watch me.
Joe, for the love of all that is holy, hold shift and use your goddamn Omnigel.
Let me get this turret out the way first.
No, heal now, you senile old fart, before a stray bullet from the guys coming up behind you kills you.
God fucking damn it.
It's been
Damn.
4 months and you're still not able to clear Grissom Academy, Joe.
I'd be able to do it on...
Listen, even if he were to do it the right way, it's still pretty difficult. You need to get off of his back. Get off of his back, because it's hard either way. It's extremely... It's not too bad if you do the obvious thing, which is go to the high ground, but you still have to kind of know what you're
depth.
doing.
Vanguard is the
But,
stupidest
yeah,
goddamn
that was
class in
his
this
fault. He
entire
fucked.
game.
No wonder you're so ass. You get by spamming pull and throw over and over instead of actually engaging with the combat.
Don't talk to me about spamming the same abilities over and over. All you do on Vanguard is charge into a bunch of guys, hit Nova, and then rinse and repeat. Oh, look at me. I fly directly into the enemy and instantly recover.
Okay, hold up. You shut your whore mouth. That is, I can't say it's not, because that 100% is exactly how you play Vanguard in Mass Effect 3. You literally biotic charge into enemies and you spam Nova. That's all you do. But the thing is there's context before you do that. You don't just dive in, because if you dive in, you're liable to get killed.
For all my shields for free, shoot them with my gun, and then use Nova. Vanguard is completely brain dead gameplay.
If it's so brain dead, why are you so dog shit at it, huh, Joey boy? You're about a step away from being brain dead on a daily basis, so the class should be perfect for you then.
You talking a lot of shit, but you conveniently never want to record yourself gaming, Donald. Oh, wait. You can't record yourself playing a game because you're in fucking jail? I'm
Got him.
surprised they're even letting you use Discord in there.
Shut the fuck up, Joe, before I shove a M300 Claymore so far up your...
I can't leave to go make some damn dinner for 5 minutes without the two of you starting to tear each other apart. Michelle said she could hear the both of you through my headphones.
Donald won't stop clowning on me for not being able to play Vanguard.
It's not my fault Joe can only play Adept. Plus, he made fun of me for being charged with some bullshit election charges.
Thought I was done dealing with this crap when my daughters grew up. Joe, you are ass at Mass Effect. You're the only one of us who can't clear the game on insanity. Donald, not everyone has to be able to play Vanguard.
Okay, I'll go ahead and stop him. So the different classes are different flavors. They all are viable, and there's not really one that I say is better than the others, unless we're talking about like the original. But even then, there's still not really any that are better. They're just different texts and different flavors of the same thing. Like the role is to get rid of the enemies, and then they just do them in different ways.
Stop making Joe do it. Also, you getting charged is admittedly pretty funny.
Okay, well, Joe is still wrong for saying Vanguard is the worst class.
If Joe did say that, he is wrong.
Explain to me.
He is 100% wrong. Vanguard is not the worst class. He literally just got through saying it. It is so brain dead. It is literally you biotic charge, shoot, and spam Nova. That is all you do. You throw in a shockwave now and then, and whenever enemies have shields, you pull it away from them, biotic charge, rinse, repeat. Like, it's literally the most brain dead class in the game. It's so easy.
Right now, what makes Vanguard so good?
Why stop there?
You literally biotic charge and you spam. It's powerful. Like, if you upgrade Nova the right way, it eats through armor, it eats through shields, it eats through barriers. And you get the amp whenever you use biotic charge, depending on which one you got. I usually go for the one with the actual like upgrade to weapon damage, because then you could just finish them off. Or you could go for power damage if you want to spam Nova. But either way, it's far from the worst.
Peep this tier list of all the Mass Effect classes across the trilogy.
Is this how you've been spending your years since being president, making random Mass Effect related tier lists?
To be fair, I make Walking Dead ones now too.
So what's the nature of this tier list?
We'll judge the classes as they appear in each game. Put simply, Soldier in Mass Effect. One will be ranked differently from Soldier in Mass Effect 2 and 3, since the changes in the class and overall gameplay affect...
Which is fair. That is 100% fair, because the way that it works is completely different in Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Because, like, Soldier is like... Because you have to deal with the overheat mechanic in the first one when you spam overkill. That's literally all you do, is you just spam shooting your gun without any problems, and then you can adrenaline surge to refresh all your abilities in case you fuck up, or in case you want to just dive in and do maximum damage output. So that makes complete sense. With that aside though, I guess we'll go ahead and continue, because it does make sense.
Ranked differently from Soldier in Mass Effect 2 and 3, since the changes in the class and overall gameplay affects how good these classes are.
Right.
We won't be factoring bonus...
Now, if I had to pick, the best Soldier in Mass Effect was in Mass Effect 2. Because in 2, you literally just blow through everything with the Avenger. It literally is the best one in the game. And especially when you get, what is it, the Incisor and the Incisor sniper rifle? Yeah, that thing is ridiculous. Like, back when it used to be like... Because in Mass Effect 3, it's kind of garbo, unless you put a lot of mods on. But otherwise, it was pretty good in the first iteration, which was in Mass Effect 2. I believe it was a DLC. That was the one that was broken. It was actually really extremely good. Like I'd say it was on par, if not a little bit less good than the Widow. The Widow though was pretty much, if you did it right, it most of the time was a one shot, unless it was a boss, in which case it still did a lot of damage.
Powers into this. Also, we'll be mostly ranking this from an insanity difficulty point of view with a few exceptions.
Which is a really good thing to say because you could play through the entire game on the easiest difficulty and it wouldn't even matter.
Down the line.
I know this is another highly requested tier list, so let's jump into it.
Good deal. We'll start with the OG class, Mass Effect 1 Soldier.
The soldier is
The Soldier is really good in Mass Effect 1 because it's the only class that could play with all guns from the start. Because the way it worked was whenever you started off, like if you're the adept, you literally have no proficiency in anything except for pistols. And I think the Sentinel has no proficiency with any weapon, if I remember right. They have no proficiency with weapons at all. They literally only have proficiency with powers. They can only really use powers. And that's what made the Sentinel really shit to start with. When you played the game and you started off as a Sentinel, it was awful. It was absolutely awful because it had tech powers and it had biotics, but it had no weapon proficiency. So you were stuck for like a little bit with shitty accuracy, and there was no way to fix that until you did at least one playthrough.
the class for the men among men.
But Soldier in the first one was literally about not overheating your weapon. You had a gun for every situation. If they were up close, you'd use the shotgun. Mid-range, you would use your SMG or use the assault rifle. Long range, you use sniper rifle. It was point blank, easy. It is the Ryu. It is the Ryu of the game. You literally start off as the soldier. That's what you're expected to do.
It's the only class where you get to equip heavy armor and you get access to training in every weapon.
Soldier's kind of boring, if I'm being honest. All you do is just shoot a gun, access to space magic.
That's kind of the point. You just only shoot, but you shoot in every scenario. Like you literally don't have any issues. You literally have a 100% success rate in all scenarios.
Unsurprisingly, Joe doesn't understand the appeal of simply just blasting all your problems in the face with a big fucking gun.
Setting aside the joys that can be brought by turning someone to dust with some incendiary ammo, Soldier is a very powerful and beginner-friendly class in one.
Exactly.
All that bulk lets you survive a lot of damage.
And it's tanky. Let's not forget that. It's tanky. It is very, very tanky. It has zero problems if you know what you're doing. You have, I forget what the arm, I think, what's it called? Invincibility or invulnerability? I forget. But it was tanky. And I remember Adrenaline Surge became Adrenaline Rush, which was just as broken, but not as good. Because it doesn't reset all your powers. And instead, it like slows down time to bullet time. And you just shoot the shit out of everything.
An Adrenaline Burst lets you instantly recharge all your talents so you can get a second chance on any
Exactly.
mistakes.
Adrenaline burst works well with immunity and shield boost, makes you
That's what it was called, immunity and shield boost. You would use immunity to protect your health from taking too much damage, and you would use shield boost to bump your shields back up. Like if you went from 1 bar, if you went from like maybe 5 bars to 1 bar, you could shield boost it back up. So it literally made you pretty tanky, and then you could adrenaline surge and reset not only your overkill, but your shield boost and your immunity.
even tankier.
It was
The
nuts.
guns and tankiness might be great and all, but soldiers don't have any tech or biotic powers, so they lack good crowd control, and they don't have any tech powers.
No, see, here's the thing. You can't say that because the soldier, even though it is basic, it takes squad mate management to the max. You use your squad mates for that. Because instead of you doing it, that's what you take your teammates for. So rather than you doing it and them having to cover for you, you're basically taking care of all the scenarios, and in the one moment that you need crowd control, that's what your squad mates are for. That's what made Liara so good, is because Liara is an adept. She uses biotics. Like you can just use her. If you need tech, then you get Tali. If you need another soldier, then you would get, obviously Ashley. Yeah, people are saying Caden. No, I don't usually take Caden. Caden though is not too bad. I think technically isn't he considered? No, he has barrier. He's not too bad actually. Now that I think about it, he's not usually too bad. I usually leave Ashley to die. Now that I think about it.
So good luck getting any of that nice loot from the sealed containers.
That's why you always bring Tally with you.
Literally what I just said. Literally what I just said. You just take your squad mates with you. They cover your weaknesses, and you have no weaknesses if you have good squad mates.
Obviously.
Joe is right. The soldier does have a few weak points worth remembering, and you'll need to pick the right squad mates to cover those areas.
See?
Soldier is still
There
the
you go.
best class of the game, offering you a lot of versatility and adaptability. It's a top class in Mass Effect 1, and perhaps the best version of the class across the trilogy.
I don't know about that one. I will say that it's the most interesting, but I don't know if it's the best one. I think the best one is still Mass Effect 2. That was the best version of the soldier.
Should go into God tier.
You're bugging, I'll admit the soldier is good.
And then they had the DLC, the one where you went to the moon base. That was the one where you first actually encountered the AI program that would be made for EDI. Those passive bonuses for the soldier are like necessary. They were really, really, really good.
If a bit dull. But without tech and biotics, the class has some problems.
Any problems
Just
the
use your
soldier
squad
has
mates.
is immediately counteracted by how much damage it can do with every shot and by how unbelievably tanky it is.
Not only that, but it literally just destroys everything. Why do I care about biotic powers if I can literally just unload like 500 shots into something? They literally just do that.
I don't need singularity or overload to
Just
disable
kill them.
opponents when I can just annihilate them with overwhelming fire.
Exactly.
As usual, I'm in the middle here. The weaknesses of Soldier in Mass Effect 1 are nothing in the face of how powerful it is. It's also the only class that is 100% viable at every single range thanks to its access to every type
Exactly.
of weapon. However, the class can be a bit dull. So let's put Mass Effect 1 Soldier in A.
I agree. A tier is fine. A tier makes the most sense because it was really, really, really strong. A tier makes sense. I can't argue with it.
tier. Now we move on to Mass Effect 2, and the soldier goes through a few changes here.
It's still a top tier class and is
It is busted in the second one. That is the best version of it. I think in Mass Effect 2, it's literally the best class in the game. It is the best one to play. I'd argue that Sentinel and Vanguard are up there, but no. It is 100% soldier, because the soldier doesn't give a fuck about anything.
the only class that automatically has access to every single weapon type.
You're nuts. Soldier falls off a bit in 2 because of the addition to health types like armor, barriers, and shield.
Nope, because it eats straight through that. If you have the right teammates and you have the right ammo type, if they have armor, just put, fire ammo. If they have barriers, put on, warp ammo. If they you could even use cryo ammo for armor. You have too many options on ammo types. Just literally use your squad mates. That's what they're there for. Get the upgrade that gives your whole team that ammo type. That is all you have to do.
The soldier has the ammo powers to deal with them, but its only offensive power is concussive shot.
Joe has a point.
Concussive shot is broken though. So we can't use that one as an example. Concussive shot is actually broken. At least I know in Mass Effect 2 and 3, it is broken. It is actually broken. Especially in 3. Because in 3, I've literally done entire sections where I literally just use only concussive shot. I literally did it as a meme because I told a friend of mine, watch me only use concussive shot. And he said, no, you won't. And I was like, watch. And I literally just sat there and just spammed it the whole time. And he was like, wow, it actually is kind of broken. It's like, that's literally all it is. It shreds armor. It knocks enemies down. It goes through shields because guess what? It staggers every time it hits something. So there's not really a problem with it.
You're nowhere near as tough as you are in 1, so that means you can only really shoot from cover. All in all, I'd
That
say
is true.
Soldier and Mass Effect 2 is pretty boring.
You get access to the crazy M96 Matic. That by itself makes Soldier a top class.
That is
Damage
true.
that comes from the gun boost Soldier.
Don't let just a gun sway you, Barry. Besides, that says more about the Matic than it does the class. All of the other classes bring completely unique gameplay options.
I will agree with that though. Soldier is is one of the most powerful, but it is the most boring because all you do is shoot. There's nothing being added to that type of gameplay. You just sort of shoot stuff.
But Soldier is just shooting a gun. Even
Yeah.
Adrenaline Rush, the Soldier's signature
Shooting.
technique, just makes you shoot, but in slow motion.
Hello, Joe. Wake the fuck up. Mass Effect is a shooter. How is shooting a gun a bad thing?
It's also an
It's an RPG, sir. It's not just a shooter. So I can agree with that.
action RPG. There's more to Mass Effect than just shooting. A lot of the appeal in gameplay comes from all the various ways you can tackle it, and Soldier is just using a gun
One
all
way.
the time. Why don't you go play Halo if you like shooting so much?
All right, ease up. Overall, I think
Okay, hold up. Listen, you ain't got to do it like that. You don't have to be that rude.
Soldier is a step down from its position in Mass Effect 1. It's certainly more boring and doesn't do as well without any heavy hitting.
I mean, I can't really argue with it. It is the best version, but it is a bit more boring. Because I think a lot of the jobs, and I think a lot of jobs, Final Fantasy talk incoming, but I think a lot of the classes were really good in the first one. I'm one of the few people that say that the engineer was at its best in Mass Effect 1. In the first one, it was way better. It was way better in the first one because you can like dampen enemies' weapons. Or rather, no, you would dampen their abilities so that way it would silence them and they couldn't use powers like biotics included because it would shut down their amps or shut down their nervous systems. Or you could use the little mines that they had because they used to have these mines to like blow stuff up. And they could overheat people's weapons to like stop them from firing for long periods of time. So you literally could go into boss fights, and if the boss had a gun, you could just basically make them completely useless.
Offensive
It'd
powers
be
to deal
funny.
with the different health types. So let's put it in B tier, shall we?
That's fine.
I think that's too high. The class is way too boring for B tier.
Stop chatting, Joe. Just put it in B tier.
No,
and
B
move
for
on.
basic.
We'll round out the Soldier with its time in Mass Effect 3.
I feel like in Mass Effect 3, it didn't really do anything different. It's just the same thing. It's literally the same thing. The controls are better, and you can move around better, but it still does the same thing. You go to cover, you fire stuff around. You're not really doing anything different.
What do you boys think?
It's the same
Same
thing.
as Mass Effect 2, same old, same old.
Yeah.
It even lost the advantage it had in being able to use every weapon.
Yeah.
Every class.
Yeah, because now every class can use every weapon, so it didn't matter. And that was kind of the one thing Soldier had going for it. And now the only thing that you can do with Soldier in Mass Effect 3 is it does have the one unique ability of whenever you use Adrenaline Rush, it automatically refills your ammo. So if you had like the Revenant or the Geth Spitfire, you could technically fire indefinitely if you had enough ammo because it automatically refills your gun. So if you have a big enough clip, you just fire, and as soon as it's about to run out, you just hit Adrenaline Surge and it reloads it. And by the time you get back to empty, you just use the skill again, and you could do that indefinitely. It's funny.
Can do that now. So what's so special about the Soldier now?
I don't know, Joe.
Better
Maybe the
guns.
fact that it has the highest weight capacity so you can take more weapons into battle with you.
You can't even
It doesn't really matter though because you can literally take like one gun and do everything. So it really doesn't matter, especially if you're like a good adept or a good vanguard. You could take one weapon and it wouldn't matter.
take advantage of any of the cool biotic combos on Soldier.
Now, that's not entirely true. You can
Whoa, 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 whoa. Let's not get too crazy here. Because with the combos, let me tell you, this is where concussive shock comes in. Because concussive shock can trigger pyro explosions. It can trigger tech bursts. It can trigger cryo explosions and pyro explosions. Like, it's really the tech bursts, though, that are really ridiculous. Specifically the tech burst. I know I said it probably more than once, but still the tech burst is Those are the ones that you look out for because they eat through everything. I think Tech Burst is literally the strongest combo in the game.
Combo off your ammo powers or off your squad mates using concussive shot.
I'd still rather.
They literally say it. Listen, concussive shot goes hard in fucking Mass Effect 3. That's all it's there for. Like, it's the saving grace. It's like the shockwave. It's literally the shockwave of the game.
Use pull and throw to blow things up instead.
Yeah, have fun spamming the same two abilities over and over
I mean, it's better than spamming the one ability. Let's be honest.
while I'm bringing a different gun into every mission so I can get a fresh gameplay experience every time.
I do think Soldier is a bit lackluster in Mass Effect 3 for the most part.
It is.
It's still a powerful class, but when we're talking entertainment, the other classes have so much more to offer besides
really
just
do.
shooting. I'd say it's B tier, just like Mass Effect
Yeah,
2 version.
I agree with that.
Thank you. Why the hell would you pick
It's
Soldier
still the
when you
same
can
thing.
move people with your mind like a true biotic god?
Don't you dare invoke the biotic god's name to
I'm so sick of that fucking Volus. That shit was funny. I began to smell my. He said that he began to smell his greatness. And then he fires off this little, like, warp ball that's like the size of a pea. That shit was so fucking hilarious. If you know, you know.
strengthen your argument, you apostate.
Cry about it. We're moving on to the Adept in Mass Effect 1.
Now it's my
Okay, the Adept in Mass Effect 1 was really good. I remember that the Singularity was really good because not only could you move the enemies with Singularity, but you could move objects as well. So, like, the objects around them could, like, knock them down and keep them, like, trapped. And that's what made it kind of really cool. And the animation for it was way better than sort of waving your hand. Like, it's sort of like you grab and you rip a hole, like, into the atmosphere with it in the first one.
time to arrive. The Adept in Mass Effect 1 is the god class, and you can't deny the fact one bit, Donald.
It was really, really good. Especially, I don't think Reeve came out yet. I think Reeve came out in Mass Effect 2. But Reeve is really one of my favorite ones. But Singularity is sort of hard carrying in the first one. Reeve, I think it was Slam. I don't think, is Slam in the first one? I know Shockwave is. Shockwave was always good. And Warp was always good, along with Singularity.
Watch me, you can only use the pistol and you're built like wet tissue paper
Yep.
for most of the game. Adepts are weak as shit in Mass
No, they're weak at the beginning, but like at the end of the game, you have so many powers that you can use. You literally don't have any troubles.
Effect 1.
Donald, my boy, I know you're going through a lot right now, but this is legitimately the single worst and most incorrect take you've delivered in any of these
It
videos
is.
thus far.
It really
You really
is.
want this smoke today, Barack?
Barry, need I remind you of all the things this guy has said about synthetics and Turians?
Biotics in Mass Effect are straight up the most overpowered things in the entire
Because they don't have to do anything or get close to anybody. They can literally just freaking destroy an entire area at a snap of a finger. Especially Shockwave. Shockwave is just, I don't know. There's somebody has a favorite with that skills. Whoever made it knew what they were doing, or they just really like the concept of throwing stuff away from you because it's always been good.
trilogy. You start out squishy and you're very cooldown dependent. But as things go on, Adept Shepard in Mass Effect
Yeah, look at that. Go back to that. I like the way they do that
straight up
animation.
the most overpowered things
where
in the
they
entire
rip.
trilogy. You start out squishy and you're very
Like, you'll see it right
cooldown
here.
dependent. But as things
How you reach your hand out, you grab and like you tear a hole straight into like the atmosphere and create a singularity, as opposed to just waving your hand and it just flies at them.
go on, Adept Shepard in
It's
Mass
like making
Effect
a
1 becomes a
it's like making a
full-blown
small black
Jedi
hole.
warrior who can't be stopped.
Now you're spitting Barry. You got a Krogan rushing you? Use lift. Got a Geth Prime rushing you? Use
Lift, that's the what I was looking for. Because before it was called Lift, before they started calling it Slam.
throw. Room full of Geth hoppers pissing you off? Use singularity. Biotics in Mass Effect 1 are straight
really
up a fuck
good.
you and fuck your entire family lineage.
And as for being soft, maxing out barrier on Adept basically takes
Yeah, it basically takes precedence. You literally do not have any problems gaining your shields back.
care of that. especially since the cooldown becomes non-existent and you just have it on indefinitely.
Pretty
Get the
much.
fuck out of here. The adept takes no skill. You just spam abilities all day.
I mean, what? How is that any different than shooting all day? What? What are we talking about? What is Don talking about? Like, literally, what are you talking about, dude?
You don't even need to aim them because of how wide the radius is.
That's the point. That's literally the whole point.
So what? Not everything needs a high skill ceiling, Donald.
You being asked at the game makes so much sense.
Miss me with that gatekeeping BS, Donald.
Yeah, get that out of here. I'm gonna be honest with you. You can't really gatekeep and say that certain ones are bad because there's no bad class in Mass Effect. There's just bad players. You just don't know what you're doing. And I've played all of them. I've literally played all of them, the hybrids included, the pure, but all three pure classes and all three hybrids. I've played all of them. And there's not one that I can say functionally is bad. The only one that kind of sucks is literally the Sentinel, but the Sentinel makes up for it because it can literally cover every area, and it has biotic and tech powers.
Know as well as I do, the biotic classes take a lot of game sense to utilize properly.
Yeah, because you have to know mechanics. You can't really just run in and just spam powers. You have to actually do things in a certain sequence depending on the situation.
Adept is so powerful, it makes combat in Mass Effect 1 free beyond belief. And because of that, we're putting it in the S tier.
I believe that that is correct. S tier makes the most sense because it is literally, it's entertaining to play, and it actually does take skill to use it. Not too much skill in actually aiming the abilities, but it's in knowing what abilities would work in that scenario and which ones won't. Especially since in boss fights, and that's what makes it so good. In boss fights, you can actually crowd control the bosses. Because a lot of the bosses are like normal humanoid ones sometimes. And you can literally crowd control them. Before they made all of them basically, like, before they made it unusable. I don't know why they did that in 2 and 3, but some of them you literally just cannot do anything.
There's not much else in Mass Effect 1 as good as Adept.
Adept clears soldier every day of the week.
Oh, yeah? Well, let's see how Adept holds up in Mass Effect 2.
I feel like in 2 it did take a hit, but it's still one of the better classes. It's still better than Soldier, technically.
Nowhere near as well, to be honest. Adept gets nerfed beyond belief. And
Yeah, it took a fucking hit. It took a hit. I'm gonna be honest with you. It is nowhere near as good as it was in the first one, but it's still better than Soldier.
2. The new health types keep the abilities from working until you get past them, which wouldn't be a problem if it weren't for the fact that the most prominent health type is shields. And
Adept cannot deal with shields at all because they only use biotics.
Adepts have no way of dealing with them naturally.
Not to mention you're stuck using SMGs and pistols for most of the game.
Yeah, because the thing is, what they're talking about is in Mass Effect 2, until you get to the collector ship, you are stuck with a certain weapon type. And when you get to the collector ship for the first time, not the end of the game, the first time, you get a one-time selection to either upgrade your weapon or to go to a different weapon type. And I usually always picked a different weapon type because I am so sick of the SMG. The SMG is not very good in Mass Effect 2. In 3, it's really good, but in 2, it's kind of bad.
The Shuriken and Predator, awful, just
Their
awful.
ass.
Adept powers are still useful on higher difficulties. You just use the power to momentarily stun the...
That's kind of coping. You can do that, but you really need good squad mates. Again, it's the same problem with Soldier in Mass Effect 1. You need really good squad mates, and you need to know what you're doing.
opponent so you can crack their defenses.
Well, true, that's still pretty mid. On easier difficulties, Adept has the best.
Yeah, it easily slaps through on easier difficulties, but on Insanity, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have problems.
Crowd control, but the second you hit hardcore, it's over for you. All of your abilities besides warp are basically useless. Not to mention you have
Warp hard carries, especially when you have two people that have warp, because warp eats through barriers really quick. The problem is that you need a teammate, maybe Tali. I forget, is it Tali that has the electric ammo? But you need to have electric ammo. because that's your only way to bypass barriers, or rather not barriers, but shields. Because shields, you have no natural way of dealing with it. You need electro ammo, or you need a bonus power, which they're not including bonus powers. So you have to do that.
No way of replenishing your barrier like some of the other classes do, making Adept squishier than it was in
And
Mass
it
Effect
fucking
1.
sucks.
Put Mass Effect 2 Adept in F tier.
Okay, it's not F tier, Don. Let's not go crazy. It's not F tier. But I will say that it probably is at least a C plus. I would put it in C because it's not as good as Soldier. I mean, it's a little bit better than Soldier, and I did say that, but thinking about it, it's not really as good as it should be, and it has problems. At least the Soldier is somewhat tanky and can take hits. The Adept doesn't.
It is way too unenjoyable in 2. If you're playing on any difficulty that isn't normal, you legit need energy drain to make the class playable.
Absolutely not. Adept is still a great class in 2. You can't deny it still has its uses.
I'll settle for D tier. I think Adept has its place in Mass Effect 2, but the nerfs it suffered due
D? I don't know about that. I would say C, but it was pretty bad. We're talking about Insanity. On Insanity, yes. It would probably be a D tier thinking about it, because it is pretty bad. Now, in Mass Effect 3, those biotic explosions, and let me tell you, Throw is your friend. Throw is the ultimate detonator in Mass Effect 3. Let me let him get to it, though.
game changes seriously cripple it. Next up is Mass Effect 3 Adept.
Ooh, Mass Effect 3. I know they're getting into it, and I just said that I would let them do it, but I just have to say, because it makes me happy to talk about it. But Throw can trigger everything in the game. Throw and Shockwave are your best friends, because Throw can trigger biotic explosions. It can trigger the cryo and pyro explosions. It can trigger tech burst. It can literally trigger everything. And it's nuts. I don't know why they allowed it to do that. And it has an upgrade that lets you reset it every time you trigger a combo, which means you can spam it, which is nuts. I don't know what they were thinking.
Come on now, you know Mass Effect 3 Adept has some of the most satisfying gameplay in the trilogy.
It does.
Maybe the first 10 to 15 minutes of the game. You're so cooldown dependent that you can only take
You don't have cooldowns. You literally just spam Throw and Shockwave. That's all you do. At least that's all I did when I played.
smaller weapons with you into battle, and all you use is pull and throw over and over again.
Okay, yeah, so see, he's already talking about you do just spam those. That's all you do. You don't do anything else. You throw in maybe a singularity here and there, but you really are spamming Throw. Throw and Shockwave are your friends.
You're the one using pull and throw over and over again. I use all the biotic abilities to create more satisfying explosive blasts, like using Shockwave so I can trigger multiple explosions
go.
one after another.
Also,
Smart.
unlike Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3 has pretty engaging SMGs and pistols like the Acolyte.
Which is true. Some of those SMGs are really good. They understood that Mass Effect 2's SMGs sucked. Even the Tempest is just better.
Mass Effect 3 Adept improves from 2. You can prime and detonate targets with all your powers, making
Which is what made it better, because they understood that the main issue with Adept and just biotics in general is that they did not feel as good as they should have in Mass Effect 2. I think all biotics sort of took a hit, and tech powers were the ones that were really good in Mass Effect 2.
at the excellent support class, not to mention it's fun as hell, blowing everything up with your space magic. Put it in God tier Barack.
Adept still has
It's
a
not
weakness
God
with
tier.
shields. That right there ought to keep it from God tier.
I agree with Donald. Adept in Mass Effect 3 is a fun and engaging class.
But it is not God tier. I can honestly say that it is not. I would say that it's a solid B. It is a solid B. Like, it is not bad, but it's not like amazing.
But it isn't anywhere near the peak of its Mass Effect 1 version, so we'll put it in A tier.
A tier? I don't know. I'll let them cook, because that makes sense.
Now we're going on to a pretty underrated class, the engineer.
Okay, the engineer in Mass Effect 1 is it seems like it's bad, but I can tell you right now that engineer was the best one in the game to play, because the engineer had complete control over the battlefield the moment that you got all of your abilities. Like, it literally had zero problems. Like, it starts off weak, but then afterwards you literally can control whenever enemies can use abilities, and you can control whenever they use their guns. There are literally times where enemies cannot shoot you for like a full minute because you're too busy overheating their weapons.
Starting with Mass Effect 1.
And
The class for nerds is absolute
the mines
trash.
were so good.
All that tech and no power whatsoever makes the engineer the worst of the bunch.
How
Nope.
dare you? Engineer lets you crack open the security containers for good loot, and you can support your squad while they do all the damage.
Why in the fuck would I want to rely on the NPCs to do all the fighting?
You don't really rely on them. You really just control it. The more like a commander would control a battlefield.
First of all, I'm the player. I want to fight. Second of all, the NPC's AI isn't good enough to carry you through the game. Plus, if I want to open the locked containers, I can just bring Tali with me.
Engineer in Mass Effect would definitely be an interesting and engaging class if you were playing something like Baldur's Gate with a bunch of your friends.
Which is true. I can say that it is super passive. It's very passive.
But in a PvE single-player game, I'd rather skip it most of the time. I know I said
But-
engineer is underrated.
But it is very, like this fight right here against this damn thing, that motherfucker, he completely gets negated by an engineer. You can literally make it to where he cannot shoot you. And that's saying a lot because, again, that thing is literally ridiculous. The armature is one of the more annoying things to have to deal with, especially since in the first one is the only real time that you have to directly confront one, and you can just make it completely worthless.
But in Mass Effect 1, it is a pretty lame class. It's probably going all the way down into F tier. The only reason I ever play it is if I'm carrying the same...
I don't know. I don't agree with that one, Ted. I don't agree with that take at all. I really just don't. I would put it in at least C tier because it is niche, but not in F tier. But the reason why I kind of agree with it is because they're probably taking, I forget, is it called it's the infiltrator in the first one, because the infiltrator is literally the engineer, but a combat version that uses only the sniper rifle, and that's the better version. You play that. I think the infiltrator is the only one that has been good across all the games without any problems. The infiltrator has always been good, and it's never had issues. It literally is that midpoint between the engineer and the soldier.
class through all 3 games.
Well, how does engineer stack up in Mass Effect 2?
Bro, you get access to a whole ass fucking drone. That drone is so good, and overload is busted. It's pretty good. It eats through armor with, what is it? Oh, duh, incendiary. They literally just go straight through everything. It eats straight through their armor. The only thing that they have trouble with is barriers. That's the only thing that I can say they kind of struggle with.
Not much better.
Wrong, Donald. Engineer actually becomes a lot more useful in Mass Effect 2, thanks
Yeah, because instead of you having to direct your teammates, you have a drone that does it for you.
to some of its powers. Incinerate lets the class clap armor, and Overload takes out shields. Also, did you guys know Overload makes enemy guns overheat
And forces them not only to kneel down, but it forces their guns to, like he said, overheat, and they can't shoot you. Because Overload, I think, is the underrated ability, and Overload is my favorite power in the entire series. Because Overload has always been broken. The only thing it doesn't work on is barriers, in which case just use warp ammo.
force a reload?
Wait, it does?
Yep, the overheating mechanic never left. It just became less obvious. It happens to you too.
Another point for the engineer, the best thing about the class is its ability to disable opponents.
Oh yeah, and you can also AI hack. So like if you're fighting against Geth, or if a drone shows up or a mech shows up, you just hack it, and it literally will just attack other people.
You can hack synthetics, freeze with cryoblast, and summon the combat drone to distract things.
The engineer has no answer to long-ranged opponents and can't do anything to barriers.
The drone is your answer to long-range combat. End of discussion. But barriers, I can't argue.
Not a big problem. Your powers can reach enemies at long range.
You got to give Engineer a high ranking. My favorite thing to do with the class is take Talion Legion and just summon 3 combat drones to completely...
Okay, that shit is fucking funny. I've done that before. Where you literally just have 3 drones just wreak havoc on the battlefield. It's funny. It actually is hilarious.
break the enemy AI.
That is a pretty good point and a great segue into Mass Effect
A?
3, so we'll put Mass Effect 2 Engineer in A tier.
Yeah, it's A tier. It's really good. And then the third one, it literally gets better. The drone is better. It blows up now and does damage. You have access to better powers. Overload is more broken.
Move on.
All right.
Because Tech Burst is literally the strongest. Again, it's the strongest multiplier when it comes down to combos. Literally just Tech Burst.
All right, I won't bullshit you here. Mass Effect 3 Engineer, pretty good.
Pretty good is a wild understatement.
Yeah, I think everyone's in agreement. That's an understatement, but he's not wrong. It's pretty good.
The class is OP beyond belief. Recall those ever-hated Cerberus turrets? Well,
Now you can hack them.
now we can hack those and turn them on the enemy.
Yup.
Watching the Cerberus engineers set them up just to get fucking nuked in an instant is the funniest shit
It
ever.
is.
Overload can now break through biotic barriers.
Yep, and that's what made it broken. It can go straight through biotic barriers because it can go through shields and barriers is an upgrade for it. And that was the only weakness that it really had. So overall, I'd say it becomes an S tier, especially since Tech Burst is the strongest it's the strongest combination. It's easily S tier.
Removing the one weakness the Engineer class had in Mass Effect 2. But let's get to the real meat of the topic here. The Engineer is basically a summoner class.
You got
Which is fucking amazing. I never thought about it like that. It literally is just a summoner. It literally just summons I don't know why I never thought of it like that. But that basically is what it is. And then you spam tech powers the whole time. And you can handle every situation. In any situation you can't handle, the drone does it for you. I don't know why I never thought of that.
the combat drone which can fire rockets or shoot electricity, and a sentry turret that has cryo and armor-piercing ammo, and then on
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because you do have access to that sentry turret. That turret is ridiculous. Especially the flamethrower. It just eats through armor.
top of that, it gets a motherfucking flamethrower. I can't even pretend that
See, they know what I'm talking about.
that's not cool.
You know it's good when Donald can't pretend to hate it.
We need to actually focus
Exactly.
on this point here.
Yeah, it's S tier. I'm just gonna call it now. It is S tier. I don't think anyone's gonna argue with it.
On Engineer, you have Shepard, both your squad mates, the combat drone, and a sentry turret. That is
You literally control the battlefield. It literally turns from a three-person squad into like a 6-person squad. More if you have the right teammates.
essentially a team of 5 right there. Add in Tally's combat drone, and you get 6. Hack a Cerberus turret, and you
7. Like you literally just control everything.
get 7. And I know we aren't adding bonus powers, but if you get Dominate from Morinth to
Oof.
hack an organic, you get 8
8.
attackers on your side. The Mass Effect gameplay completely falls apart under such conditions.
God tier, just like a
Yeah, pretty much. Because the thing is that Mass Effect is not balanced in a way where they could support more than 4 allies being on one team. The moment you add more than 4, the whole shit falls apart. That's why one of the most overpowered classes in Mass Effect 3 multiplayer was always the engineer. Because the engineer, you could just have 4 engineers, have either the AI drone or the turrets, and you could literally just camp in one room, and it just floods the room, and you all can use any weapon in any ammo type. You guys literally just destroy everything.
adept in
Not to mention, what is it? The N7 Demolisher has that resupply pack and those grenades. I think that is literally still just broken. I don't know who thought of that, but good job. They need a raise.
Mass Effect 1. Engineer in 3 makes the combat totally free, and it's easily the most unique class in the game. Nothing else
It's
plays
S
like
tier.
this.
Big agree. A lot of people hype up the Vanguard, but in terms of variety, Engineer is nuts. Easily a god tier.
God
can't
tier?
argue-
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that. I didn't even notice the God tier was up there. God tier is easily up. It's up there.
With facts, the things you can do with the engineer class are utterly insane.
Good to see you two be on the same page for once.
Yeah.
We're hitting up the Vanguard next.
You mean the man?
There's no biotic charge in Mass Effect 1, but if there's one thing I can say about the Vanguard in Mass Effect 1 I liked, it was that Carnage was like a rocket that you could fire at people. I hate that they took that out. If it lost its weight of impact whenever you would use Carnage, Carnage used to be like a raw rocket just being fired, and then they screwed that up.
Vanguard, the #1 class across the trilogy.
No, I mean the #1 most overrated class across the trilogy.
Barack, get your vice president before I do. He's speaking absolute slander right now.
You're
Yeah.
speaking nonsense, Joe. The Vanguard has a strong case for best class in Mass Effect 1.
What in blue hell are you talking?
Yeah, it was pretty busted. The only problem is that you had to know what you were doing because you had proficiency in shotguns. So unless you knew how to get close, which I mean, it was stupid easy to do it in the first one.
About?
Vanguard has the perfect balance of the soldier's DPS and tankiness, and the adept's biotic power. With access to both pistols and shotguns, you can be effective at any range.
You even get adrenaline burst, which gives you a free reset on all your
On all your abilities, and that's what made it broken.
biotic talents. With Adept, you're just a space wizard. But on the Vanguard, you're a full-blown space warrior.
You're still lacking tech abilities.
As we
It's a combo of soldier and biotics. It's a soldier and an adept. It doesn't have any tech powers, and it's. What is he gonna say about the Sentinel? I want to see what he says about the Sentinel.
We already said that's hardly a problem when you can just shoot everything to death and when you have access to tally. Frankly, Vanguard in Mass Effect 1 is
broken.
just as good, if not out.
I think it's better than It's way better than Soldier because it's more fun to play. Like I literally had the most fun playing Vanguard. Vanguard and Infiltrator were the most fun ones.
outright better than Adept. I think we're looking at
God
another
tier.
God.
Yeah, it's God tier. It was really good, and Carnage was really fun.
Damn straight, go ahead and drop every other version of Vanguard in God Tier 2.
I don't think so.
No, because in Mass Effect 2, all biotics got nerfed. And don't get me wrong, I like biotic charge, but it wasn't as good as it is in 3 in Mass Effect 2. Because sometimes, especially if we're considering insanity, you would die if you did it wrong.
Vanguard might be really good in Mass Effect 1, but it's not so great in 2.
It gets even better with 2 with the biotic charge. It's the only class where you don't have to be stuck to cover the whole damn game.
That is true, but still, you could rush into some bad situations.
I don't know about that one, Donald. It's true that
But I will say that when you get the Claymore literally changes the game because you start one-shotting things. It doesn't matter what they have, it eats through it.
charge is fun, but the way Mass Effect 2 is designed makes
It makes biotics not very good.
playing Vanguard a real struggle. Half the levels in the game have areas where charge literally can't be used.
Yeah, it either has it where it can't be used, or if you use it, you get gunned down and die. All biotics like saw a nerf.
And sometimes the ability won't work for basically no reason whatsoever.
Without charge, Vanguard is just a super cut down version of Adept, but with a shotgun.
I really want to say Mass Effect 2 Vanguard goes in C tier, to be honest.
You're going to put the most engaging class in C tier?
Yes, because even if it is engaging, that doesn't mean anything. Like, it's engaging, don't get me wrong, and it's interesting, but it was an attempt. A bad attempt, but it was an attempt. They fixed it in 3 with their level structure being a lot better. But in 2, that just was not it. Not until you get at least the Claymore. When you get your hands on the Claymore, it gets slightly better. But even then, it just comes down to rush them and then just shoot one time.
It's the most engaging class, but it isn't the best one. Hell, On Insanity, difficulty charge isn't even really effective because of all the shields, armor, and barriers.
Exactly.
Vanguards don't get warp, so they don't have anything for barriers.
Exactly.
And they only have incendiary ammo for armor.
Don't tell me you're going to have the same take on Vanguard in Mass Effect 3.
No, Mass Effect 3 is the boss. That is how you play it. I have in multiplayer, because when Mass Effect 3 first launched and we started playing multiplayer, I did not get my hands on a Krogan for I think the first month of playing. So what I did instead was I had the normal human Vanguard and I named him Krogan Heart. And that he was a Krogan at heart because he literally would melee everything to death. Because I would spam Biotic Charge and Nova in the heavy melee, in light melees. That's all I would do. It's so much fun. And on Insanity, it is not that bad. But they've really fixed it in 3.
Of course not. The class takes a massive evolution in 3.
All you do is spam charge and Nova on repeat.
I'm
Yes.
still waiting on you to explain why that's a bad thing.
Exactly. Why is that bad? That's not bad. That's what it's supposed to do.
Joe, spamming charge and Nova isn't all that much worse than spamming pull and throw. Besides charging, lighting something on fire, and then creating a pyro explosion with Nova is one of the best feelings
It
of the
is.
game.
You can't even do anything half the fucking game because of the Cerberus turrets and the brutes.
You see, once you get strong enough, you actually can just Biotic Charge straight into them and you Nova and those blow up. If you know what you're doing. Or you could just Biotic Charge and one shot with a Claymore will destroy the turret.
See, that's your problem, Joe. Playing Vanguard is a lot like wielding Mjolnir. You simply aren't worthy to hold such power.
Joe's belly aching aside, Vanguard in Mass Effect 3 is easily one of the most dynamic classes.
It is.
It's true you mostly rinse and repeat the same 2 abilities.
But it is satisfying to do it. You only do those. Your main 2 powers are Biotic Charge and Nova. You are not removing those. Those are core. But it's that 3rd slot and all of your other abilities that give you the little bit of variety that you would need in certain scenarios. Maybe you use a pull here to get rid of a Centurion that has a shield. Or you use a shockwave to hit multiple explosions at the same time. It's really
But
just
once you start
dependent.
vibing, the gameplay goes crazy. We're putting the Vanguard in Mass Effect 3 in S tier. It's fun and powerful, but it isn't really broken or anything like that.
Yeah. It's
But
not
damn
broken.
if it doesn't
It's A
scratch
tier.
that itch.
Is it A? What does he have it in? Yeah, he has
Now
it
we're
in
moving
S
on
tier,
to
which is
Infiltrator
good.
in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, Infiltrator is still the best one. Infiltrator was good in 1 and 2 and 3. Although it was much more different in the first one. It was more combat oriented, even though it just only used the sniper rifle. And they built on that. The moment that it got tactical cloak, that's what made it broken.
A good old-fashioned sniper class can't go wrong with popping a few heads.
I'm a big fan of Infiltrator. It mixes the best of Soldier and Engineer, giving you a high damage and relatively tanky tech specialist.
Exactly.
There's nothing you're doing with a sniper rifle that you can't do with a pistol. Mass Effect 1 isn't the Infiltrator's best version.
It really isn't. Let's be honest, it's not.
That's true. So why don't we stick it in C tier and head off to where things get really good?
Yes, Mass Effect 2, when it got the tactical cloak. The cloak is what made it so good. It is specifically that tac cloak.
Mass Effect 2. Infiltrator gets a cloaking ability that gives it the...
See, I'm telling you, I know this. It is that tac cloak. The cloak is what made it so good because you get that big damage bonus. And once you get to the collector ship, you get the Widow, you start one-shotting things. You literally start one-shotting things and it's hilarious.
option to easily relocate in the heat of battle.
Now we're talking. Infiltrator is another dynamic class that rewards great game sense and mechanical skill.
It does.
You only have Incinerate to burn through armor, but sniper rifles do so much damage that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You clap the other health types with your gun alone.
There's also some neat speed running options by using Cloak. You can straight up skip combat altogether.
Hear that, Joe? Now you can just run through Mass Effect 2 instead of fighting things like a man.
You're talking a lot of shit
That is true, though. You are able to
for a
do
man
that.
who's about to need a presidential pardon, Donald.
Joke's on you, bitch. My charges are at the state level. A pardon from you is worthless. Wait,
Hey, you said it, not me.
Infiltrator in Mass Effect has a strong case for the best class.
It does.
You don't have any powers for biotic barriers, but to be honest,
You don't need them. You don't need them. The guns are just the sniper rifles, they do too much damage. It doesn't matter. Especially like the Incisor and the Widow, they just hit too hard.
Don't need them when you have the Joestar family secret technique. Ni grandayo!
Put Infiltrator in S tier. It's not God tier, but it's pretty damn close.
It's pretty good.
Infiltrator in 3 is
Infiltrator in 3 is where it's at its peak, and it's literally broken. It's broken at that point, because now you get access to even better weapons. So instead of using the Widow, like you can use the Black Widow, which is like a modified version that the Alliance was able to get their hands on, and they modified it to be able to shoot 3 times instead of once. Yeah, that thing's pretty fucking ridiculous.
admittedly a pretty good time. You can use Cloak to move around more freely, but it also lets you be a close-ranged assassin.
Yeah, because what you could do, and this is what I always did, you can always take the Geth plasma shotgun and start charging it up, turn on the cloak, get up to somebody, boom, dead. It does too much damage.
This is about as close as Mass Effect lets you get to playing a thief class.
Some of the stunts you can pull with Cloak are crazy. For one, you
ridiculous.
can use it and walk right up to an enemy and throw one of the sticky grenades right on them, giving you a free kill whenever you want.
Also, you can't forget the legendary.
Because grenade types actually, fun fact, the grenades do not count as a power. They count as an ammo type. It counts as a resource, so you can use it and it won't deactivate the cloak. But they also have the one upgrade that lets you use one power. I believe it's the last rank on rank 6. You have 2 options, which is you can use one power and not decloak, or you can get extra damage when you fire your shot while cloaked. You always usually want the one where you fire and do more damage, but you can use the other for shenanigans.
Black Widow.
Strong case for the most satisfying gun in the game.
I love nothing more than aiming and then
Yeah, see, they're talking about the Black Widow. The Black Widow was one of the better weapons, although it was hard to get your hands on it.
watching the other guy's skull.
At least in
turn into-
multiplayer. In single player, it's super easy. You literally just go to the store and it's right there.
a fresh watermelon being dropped from a tall building.
Donald, you're kind of scaring me there, brother.
You're in sniping range, Joe. Watch yourself.
Bro, don't joke like that after what happened to...
Oh, yeah, and then on top of that, they have the new reflex. What is it? The reflex sight that like slows down time so that way you can aim better? Yeah. That also is what made it really good. But I think the last one they have yet to cover is going to be the Sentinel. The Sentinel's kind of harsh in the first one. It's pretty bad. I'm just giving y'all a fair warning.
Kennedy.
Joe, that was like 60 damn years ago. Anyway, we're definitely putting Mass Effect 3 Infiltrator in God tier.
It is God tier.
The cloak ability is stupid OP because once
very
you use
OP.
it, there's nothing the enemy
Can't
AI
do.
can do to stop you.
They don't know you're there.
That coupled with your insane damage makes Infiltrator a top class.
Easily.
And now we're on to the most boring and trash class of the trilogy.
He's already starting, dude. The Sentinel is bad at first. It has no proficiencies, if I remember right. Like, not even the pistol. It can't do anything. And you have to wait. You have to wait it out in order to have a whole bunch of abilities.
The Sentinel.
Oh, Donald, you done stepped in it now.
Uh-huh. Run that by me again, Donald. Did you just say Sentinel is trash?
It's not trash. You just have to give it time, and it works out.
The class is so unbelievably unappealing, which isn't surprising. It's the same class as Caden.
You don't understand how...
Oh, Caden is a Sentinel. Okay. So I wasn't mistaken. He is a Sentinel. Because that's what I was talking about earlier. I was like, isn't he a Sentinel? Because he uses barrier. And then I thought about it, and I was like, nah, maybe he's like supposed to be like a Vanguard, but not really. But nah, he's a Sentinel.
Barry rides for Sentinel.
Sentinel is straight up the most
It is the best one, but you have to wait the longest.
consistently top tier class across all 3 games.
The hell are you talking about? In Mass Effect 1, you don't even specialize in any weapons.
Yeah, you have no specializations, but once you get to the end game and you struggle, it literally has an answer to all situations with just powers. It doesn't need a gun. It is the only class that straight up doesn't need it. At least the Adept has to use a weapon. The Sentinel does not have to.
All you get is pistols through your class power, and you can't even evolve marksman.
Like you said yourself, Donald, most of your goals can be met with a pistol in Mass Effect 1. With that, you get great biotics like lift, throw, and barrier.
But you also
Plus,
have
you
the tech
pick up
powers.
tech, and neural shock is a powerful ability as well.
It is.
It is the true jack of all trades character.
Yeah, but jack of all trades, a jack of all trades is a master of, like, what is it? Oh yeah, it's the jack of all trades, master of none, but always better than a master of one.
Yeah, jack of all trades and master of none of them. Sentinel has minimal biotics.
Yeah, see, he literally just said it. I did not pre-watch this. I literally only watched like the first couple portions, but that's what everyone says about Sentinel.
Minimal tech, low HP and shielding, and low access to weapons. It's another support class like the engineer put it in F tier.
It's true Sentinel is a support class, but
It is a support class, but it actually is a really good one. You just have to struggle for a bit.
class with biotics is automatically a high tier class in Mass Effect 1 because biotics are overpowered.
Plus,
Yeah, biotics are fucking stupid in the first one. Let's not even front about that. The biotics, they did that on purpose. And then Mass Effect 2, they overtuned things. And they, again, made the biotics worse. They made all of them bad. That's why the Sentinel gets the tech armor in the second one. The tech armor is what makes it really good, and they fixed it completely in the third one by making it a permanent, like, instead of it being a temporary buff, it's more of an active buff. You turn it on and it stays on like the whole time. And that's what made it broken. Because you could use on Sentinel, you could have Barrier. If you have Caden alive, you can get the bonus power of Barrier. And you can have Barrier and tech armor at the same time. And that always is, I literally ran through my Insanity run as a Sentinel. I literally did a Sentinel run is how I actually got all three of those achievements. Because I literally ran through the whole game and I had no problems. Because I'm just too tanky, you can't die.
with decryption, you can drop Tally and pick a more powerful squad mate like Rex or Ashley
There you go.
without losing too much utility.
That
The
is true.
flexibility Sentinel grants you
Is a lot.
definitely makes it an A-tier class.
Of course, you like the lame classes, Joe.
A tier is fine. It's either B or A.
And of course, you like all the flashy classes. We're putting Sentinel in A tier and going
Yep.
to Mass Effect 2.
Mass Effect 2 is still weird because it still doesn't have access to weapons, but it still has access to tech powers. And I feel like that's still where it's really good. And it has that new tech armor because they were trying that out. And the tech armor works to negate burst damage from enemies. Because whenever they're gunning at you and you have a shotgun, you literally can just run through the gunfire and drop them real quick.
Where the class becomes even better. In fact, Sentinel is the best class in Mass Effect 2 straight up.
No way are you saying Sentinel is better than Infiltrator and Soldier.
It kind of is because it again can handle all situations because it can deal with barriers because it has warp. It can deal with shields because it has overload. It can deal with armor because it has not only access to incendiary ammo but incinerate, and it has tech armor because it's tanky, and it has access to weapons. So, what are you saying?
Oh, but I am. Sentinel is the only class with powers that target all three health types by default. It gets overload and warp. On top of that, Sentinel has tech armor.
Vanguard
That tech armor carries hardcore. I'm telling you, the tech armor was the best ability. I don't know why. I don't know who thought of it. Who thought of the tech? I'm gonna have to look that up. Who thought of tech armor? Because that was really good.
wishes it was as tanky as Sentinel.
Exactly.
With tech armor, the class can double or even triple the strength of Shepard's shields.
Uh-huh.
And the energy pulse that flies out turns you into
A walking bomb. Like you can literally run up, and if enemies detonate your shield, it just blows up. It blows up and deals enough damage, and then you just kill them with a shotgun.
bomb.
Vanguard gets skill diffed by Sentinel any day of the week.
Yeah, it
You're out
does.
of your damn mind, Vanguard Slam Sentinel.
Sentinel also has some of the best stats thanks to its passive.
Yeah, that's true. It either gets more damage or you can become tankier or both.
You get the fastest power recharge time or the greatest power damage boost.
On the basis that Sentinel has excellent stats and has an answer to all the things the game can throw at you, it should be
It is the best class to do an Insanity run. I will recommend it. I can recommend if you're doing an insanity run, do Sentinel. You will have the easiest time.
God tier.
Good take, Joe. God tier it is.
God
I'm
tier.
still never playing Sentinel.
It's God tier in the third one as well. Even better because tech armor is permanent.
Your loss. Finally, we'll end things with Sentinel and Mass Effect 3.
You get a pretty cool, unique melee where you swing double
Double
omni
armor
blades while you
blades.
have tech armor activated.
The class is certainly still amazing, especially now that you can access shotguns by default.
Donald, you should just give Sentinel a chance. You can be nearly as aggressive on it as you can on Vanguard.
Never. Vanguard for life. Charge for life. Nova for life.
At least I have the balls to try out classes I don't like. I bet you wouldn't know what to do on Sentinel.
I can play Sentinel with my eyes closed.
Prove it. Oh, wait, you can't because you're in jail.
Careful, Joe. Keep that up, and I might just spill the juice I have
I swear, I really like this guy's channel. I'm so glad that I found it.
on you.
You don't have any dirt on me.
I've seen your search history, buddy. I know enough to make sure you lose 2024.
Donald, I showed you that in confidence. Besides, I saw your search history, too.
No one would be surprised if it's me, but you? Come on, think of what Jill would say.
You two are giving me a headache. One of these days, we're going to put this nonsense to rest and have a competition.
Yeah, it's S tier because it has competition because every class can compete now. Everything can compete and everything is viable. There's not really anything that's good or bad. Everything is just sort of equal, but you'll have the best time with those top three.
To see who plays Mass Effect the best. For now, let's decide where to rank Sentinel in Mass Effect 3 and close out for the day. I think it should go into S tier.
Sentinel is easily a top 3 class in the final game.
It is.
And deserves S tier for its trouble.
It does.
The only reason it isn't God tier is because it
Because every other class can compete. All of them are on a level playing field where everything has its use now. That is the only reason it is not God tier. God tier is if everything sucks except for specific things, and it does not suck at all.
isn't blatantly the best like it was in Mass Effect 2.
You'll never convince me Sentinel is a good class. It's literally the second least played class. Even the players.
Yeah, good video. Good video. I like it.
Sentinel
Subscribe.
is a good class. It's literally the second least played class. Even the players know it's mid.
Popularity doesn't mean it's good. Donald, you're overruled. Sentinel is going into S tier, and that's
you
the
go.
end of it.
Fine. Well, Joe, ready to give the Grissom Academy mission another shot?
All right, I'm locked in.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, I'm subscribed to them. I'm gonna do probably more of these because I really like these. They seem really fun. Yeah, I definitely am gonna have to go ahead and look at some of these. Oh, they rank the weapons. See, that one's probably gonna be really good. I'm gonna save it though. Until then, I guess everyone have a good one.